Like the title says, this is a what-if scenario for Scream where Billy succeeds in his plan. The change I'm making for him to win is that Gale Weathers stays unconscious, allowing Billy and Stu to kill Sidney.
Houston, we have a problem here.
What?
The gun, man, the gun. I put it right there. It's not there. Where the fuck is it?
Right here, asshole.
Gale saves Sidney by distracting them with the gun, so removing her from the equation means they kill her. With Sidney and Neil dead, it leaves Billy and Stu as victorious killers. This leaves no witnesses to their crime, except Randy, who I think would come in the kitchen trying to save Sidney only to get killed. I believe the theory that Billy planned on betraying Stu, so that's what he does in this scenario. In the aftermath, Billy would see Stu as a loose end and kill him to tie things up, so his loudmouth doesn't lead back to him.
I didn't kill anybody. Nobody said you did.
Thanks, buddy.
Your boyfriend didn't like seeing his daddy in my film too much. He didn't like it at all. Once I supplied the motivation, all the kid needed was a few pointers. Have a partner to sell out in case you get caught, find someone to frame. It was like he was making a movie.
Unbeknownst to Billy, Dewey and Gale would survive, but with everyone else dead, they wouldn't have any real clue about the truth. Dewey's kind-hearted, trusting nature would make it easy for Billy to mislead him. Dewey might even feel more guilt for not being able to save Sidney. Gale would be one of the few survivors to question what really happened. However, she would have no proof, and just like with her theory that Cotton was innocent, she would be viewed as just some sensationalist reporter, and with nobody knowing Billy and Stu killed Maureen, Cotton would be executed. With Sidney dead, Billy might feel a sense of closure regarding his motive. However, he would still be a deeply unstable individual, and his sociopathic tendencies would continue to push him toward further violence.
We're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
Roman, being Billy's secret mentor and the architect of the original Woodsboro massacre, would absolutely reach out to Billy after the events of Scream 1. I think Roman, driven by his desire to get revenge on Hollywood for covering up his father Milton's crimes, would want Billy's help. Billy would obviously want to make a sequel killing spree, and as Roman's student he would make an excellent accomplice. His theme from being the hero who killed Ghostface would give him unique access to the production of the Stab movie. Like Dewey in Scream 3, Billy would act as a consultant on the Stab film, using his hero status to stay close to the production. His knowledge of the real events would be invaluable for the filmmakers, but this would also give him the perfect cover to help Roman orchestrate new murders on set. Gale would once again take on the role of trying to solve the case. However, Gale would likely grow even more suspicious of Billy, especially as new killings occur, and her instincts from the Woodsboro massacre might lead her to question how much of a hero Billy really is. Dewey's health would be in an even worse state than in Scream 2, since this will be during the filming of Stab 1, with the nerve damage impacting his ability to protect Gale and himself. He'd still want to help, but his physical limitations would make it harder for him to take on Ghostface. Given Dewey's strong bond with both Gale and Billy in this timeline, it would be a heartbreaking betrayal for him when Billy eventually reveals himself as one of the killers. At the point in the film when Sidney showed up in Hollywood, I think Mrs. Loomis would show up to see Billy.
In the original Scream 2, she was motivated by revenge for her son's death, but as she be worried for his safety with him barely surviving the first killing spree.
And thinking he is the target of this one, Roman was able to do the Stab 3 killing on his own, so with Billy it will be even easier. Roman is a manipulative and self-serving character, so it's entirely plausible that he would eventually try to betray Billy and pin the murders on him. Roman's narcissism would push him to want all the credit for himself as a sole survivor, especially if Billy begins to challenge his leadership or try to take more control of their killings. Roman would likely try to frame Billy as the mastermind behind the new murders like he wanted to do to Sydney in Scream 3. I like the idea of Mrs. Loomis arriving at the Milton mansion, and instead of the typical final girl showdown, it would become a family affair. Billy and his mother teaming up to kill Roman would give Mrs. Loomis a purpose in this timeline beyond just revenge. She becomes an accomplice to her son's continued murderous legacy. I think Dewey and Gail would side with the Loomises in this fight. Better the devil you know and all that. Dewey doesn't know to aim for the head since Randy died in Scream 1, so he would just empty the gun into Roman's chest, getting killed when he runs out of bullets.
Super trilogy rules. 1, you got a killer who's going to be superhuman. Stabbing him won't work, shooting him won't work. Basically, in the third one, you got to cryogenically freeze his head, decapitate him, or blow him up.
Shoot him in the head!
The remaining trio should then be able to kill Roman due to their numbers and his injures. I think Nancy kills Gail after they kill Roman, since she is the only witness to Billy's crimes. After killing Dewey and Gail, Billy and his mother could stage the scene to make it look like Roman was the sole ghost face like Neil before him. The press and police would buy the narrative that Roman acted alone, driven by his resentment toward Maureen Prescott and the Hollywood system. Kincaid, much like Gail, would likely be suspicious of Billy. However, with no concrete evidence and Billy playing the role of the hero who was targeted by Ghostface again, Kincaid would find himself in a difficult position. He would sense that something wasn't right but wouldn't have enough proof to act on it. The ending of this version of Scream 3 could leave Kincaid as the only person still questioning Billy's innocence, much like Gail at the end of Scream 1. We now go to the Windsor Collage murders. Billy's compulsion to kill wouldn't fade just because he survived. But Nancy, now fully aware of Billy's tendencies, would be determined to protect him at all costs, including keeping him out of the spotlight as a killer. To keep her son out of the action, she could recruit Mickey from the internet. Mickey's fame-driven motive and desire to blame the movies would be infuriating to Billy.
I've got my whole defense planned out. I'm gonna blame the movies.
Don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
This would put Mickey at risk of crossing Billy, setting up a potential rivalry between the two killers. Nancy could take on the role of an investigative reporter, stealing Gail's role by publishing a book about the Hollywood murders. This would help her keep tabs on the police investigation while casting doubt on anyone who might connect Billy to the murders. It's questionable if Stab would still get released, but for the sake of Scream 5 happening, we'll say that thanks to Roman having multiple scripts, he filmed all the scenes he needed for an actor before killing them. That idea makes me wonder if there are people in the Scream universe demanding they release the Roman cut of Stab 3. The opening of Scream 2 will go the same, with Mickey killing Steve and Maureen at the theater. Billy could strategically fake attacks to make himself appear like a victim and increase his reputation as a survivor. This double life would feed his ego, as he could continue killing while being admired as the lucky survivor from Woodsboro. Nancy would be more focused on tying up loose ends. Her plan with this killing spree is to lure Detective Kincaid to Windsor College, to eliminate him once and for all. Kincaid, who was never fully convinced of Billy's innocence after the Hollywood killings, would be watching Billy carefully. The climax could unfold in several ways, but a likely outcome would involve killing Kincaid and turning on Mickey to finalize her plan to keep Billy safe. She would see Mickey as a perfect scapegoat, like in the original.
Mickey was a good boy, but my God, that whole blame the movies motive. Did you buy that for 1 second? Poor boy was completely out of his mind.
You're gonna get away with this.
No, of course I will. Everything's traceable back to Mickey, including the cop gun he used to kill everybody.
Since Billy is seen as a hero and a survivor of 3 killing sprees, I think Christine would tell him she is pregnant with Sam. Nancy, upon learning about her potential grandchild, would use this revelation to try to bring Billy back to normalcy. For Billy, learning he's going to be a father might create a conflict within him. The idea of leaving a legacy might appeal to him in some way, but his violent tendencies wouldn't simply vanish. Nancy would encourage him to settle down, pushing him to see fatherhood as his next great role, hoping it could channel his energies away from murder. With Mickey dead and Kincaid eliminated, Nancy's final plea to Billy would be to stop the murders and focus on being a father. She would push Billy to take on a clean slate narrative, reminding him that he's managed to evade capture, maintain a reputation as a survivor, and now has a chance to build a family legacy with Christine and Sam. Billy might be tempted to give up the mask temporarily, but his fascination with violence would likely remain. This struggle could form the basis of a new internal conflict for Billy, where he's torn between maintaining his family and his need to continue his life as Ghostface. That's me finished covering the original trilogy. I will go over the other movies in a later video. Goodbye.